Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of One on One, a Realty ONE Group podcast. I am so excited for today's episode because we are joined by my friend, my mentor, my boss, Cory Vasquez, the CMO of Realty ONE Group.
What an intro. What an intro.
And as always, I am joined by my partner in crime, Kathy Baker. Kathy, welcome.
Hi, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
So I just want to get right into it because we only have so much time and we have, marketing is a big theme. And so we want to kind of get into the weeds as quickly as we can with Cory. But first, let's get to know her a little bit. So Cory, let's jump right into it. Tell us about yourself.
Tell us about yourself. Well, when I was 4.
So that's where we're starting.
No. I am, let's see, what is there to tell about myself? I'm a Colorado native. I was born speaking and talking to people. So somewhere along the line, I knew communications was my field. Communications is a big, broad field nowadays and even before. So I've had the privilege of working in professions where I've done everything from fundraising and crisis communications to press releases to media to social media to some digital marketing. And so I think I'm middle-aged now, and I think I've found my stride where I love the field of communications and that it changes every single year. So I'm chief marketing officer here at Realty ONE Group. I've been in real estate marketing for years now, probably 15, 16, 17 years now. And I just love it. I love our brokers. I love our agents. I love the people that work hard every day, selling houses, buying houses, making people's dreams come true.
Pretty solid answer.
Is that a little too much?
No, not at all. So I know before, for those that don't know, before you came from Remax.
Mm-hmm, you did.
And so talk to us kind of like a little bit about the difference in brand from a marketing perspective, but also from like a company culture perspective.
Yeah, it's true because Remax, I still love my brand. I love Remax. I love where I came from. I learned so much while I was there about real estate. It was my first kind of marketing real estate job. That's just a well-established brand, right? That brand's been around for a long time and people know it well. So coming to Realty ONE Group, you're kind of faced with a new challenge of establishing a brand. This is not a startup company by any means, but a fast-growing, nimble, hit the ground running kind of brand. And so it's presented a whole bunch of different challenges, but a whole bunch of different opportunities, right? Because at this level of the game, we call ourselves an unbrokerage, we're untraditional. So when you say think outside the box, you mean think outside the box. When I first got here, I'll never forget doing projects, we would outline a website and we'd have it almost figured out. And then we would literally flip it on its head and say, how do we do it different? Maybe that's not the right way to do it. And I just love that part of our culture here is, yes, those are the norms and that's the rule of real estate, but what if it were different?
Yeah. And I think even from my perspective, I've noticed as our brand, and I've been with the company for almost 5 years, as the brand continues to grow, that philosophy has stayed the same. So we now have more to work with, but we still have this like disruptive behavior. And so it makes, like I say this, I've been saying this since day one, I don't feel like I work in real estate.
Yes.
And which is a pretty cool thing.
And you get used to accepting change and you get used to looking forward to change a little bit because you see the positive outcomes of being a differentiator, being different, of change, of thinking differently. And when you get rewarded enough positively from that kind of behavior, you just want to keep going.
And can I add something, sitting out in the halls like I am?
With your Zoom background.
I read something the other day and I almost sent this to you, Cory, because it was about the essence of being in a circle. And it was this image of all these people standing in a circle. And I thought about us and I thought about the term thinking outside the box. And the thing about being in a circle, which, Kuba loves circles and we use a lot of circles, no one's in front and no one's behind. You're shoulder to shoulder. Yeah. And I think that represents our brand so perfectly because I do think regardless of your role in the company, it's a shoulder to shoulder company, not a front to back. And, I just thought that really represented who we are and the unbrokerage.
Well, and I think, Kuba's really been pushing, I'd say for the last 2 years, this lifestyle brand, right? We are a modern lifestyle real estate brand. And that's, I think, a perfect springboard into like what I really want to get into is from your perspective, Cory, like what are successful brands today, like in the consumer world, what are they doing that is resonating with consumers effectively?
I think from an internal being responsible for a brand perspective, it's scary because you can no longer just spray paint a message out there and hope it fits. The messaging, the visual messaging, the content messaging, everything has to appeal to people. It has to speak to different personalities. It has to talk to people, and it has to mean something. So, I mean, for us as a marketing team, the stakes are way high. Yeah. And we all know we're different personalities. I just took my Myers-Briggs again, and I feel like I already know myself, but you take your Myers-Briggs and you know what kind of personality the things that resonate to Kathy and I, when Kathy talks about us being in a circle, that's the stuff that speaks to me. I have no hierarchies. I want to work with a team. I love culture. I love family. But for some people, especially in our industry, a full commission rate, money, providing a better life monetarily for their family speaks to them. So as a marketing team, a lifestyle brand has to speak deep into the heart of people of all different personalities, of all different walks of life, of all different diversities, of all different geographies, of all different. And so it is a real challenge, but I think it's one that our team, Josh, I can speak to you with you. We love. Let's do it.
I think the foundation is there, right? We have our 6 C's, which I think we've figured out as far as like who our consumer is in the industry. Out of those 6 categories, those are going to be what's most important to them when they pick a brand, right?
Yep.
So now it's a matter from our perspective of actually like honing in on that.
Yeah. And we were workshopping this today.
Right.
Is that some of those C's, those 6 C's, and I invite people who are listening to look those up on our website because they're prominent on our website. Yeah. Some of those 6 C's matter. 2 of those 6 C's matter more to me than they do to you. So we really, as a brand, work towards letting everybody know that all of those 6 C's matter. For you, it might be 2 more than 3, 4 than the other 4.
And okay, so this is actually a question I've been wanting to ask both of you. We preach that we are different, that we are the unbrokerage, right? But when we say we're different, like how do we actually walk the walk and talk the talk?
You know, I'll go first, and then I would love Kathy to chime in because she's got the experience, especially in this industry. But I think there's a certain amount of conformity that people accept in the real estate industry. And it's we do things because we do things because we do things, and that's how it works in real estate. Mm-hmm. And I remember studying advertising and marketing back when and watching the insurance industry take a real step out, right? The progressives of the world who really took a step out and said, it's insurance, and for most it's boring, and people have been running the same ads for years and years and years. And then they broke that cycle. And they were one of those industries, much like real estate, where you could conform until you bore the pants off people. Yeah. And so I think by our brand, and our culture, and we're like, just because it's a real estate office doesn't mean it has to be boring. There are ping pong tables, there's beer kegs, there's gongs, there's just a life that can be had in a real estate office. Yeah.
For me, when I was hired, I knew nothing about the company, to be perfectly honest, and I did exactly what Cory just said. I went to the website and I pulled the 6 C's, and I'm a very visual learner, and I use big white sheets. And I remember 4 years ago, almost exactly, writing the 6 C's, and then I went in and I pulled tools and resources. What do you provide? And I put them side by side, and I took my magic marker and I said, they provide, because I always think agent. Right? I always think, how do you support your network? And I remember just drawing, going, okay, for community, we do this. For care, we do this. And just the realization that the audio matched the video, that this is who Realty ONE Group says they are through the 6 C's, and this is the foundational pieces that they provide to support it. And I went, oh man, this really sets this company apart. 4 years later, 3.5 years later, to me, Josh, one of the biggest things that sets us apart is, Cory uses the word nimble. We have the ability, not only the ability, but leadership has the willingness to pivot.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's embarrassing. It may be through products. It may be we've made a bad decision and we go, that was not a good decision, and we flip it and we do something different. And so not many companies are willing to do that, to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think that truly sets us apart, is the audio matches the video and the willingness to be vulnerable and to listen to the network and pivot when we need to.
I think it's also, I noticed this through COVID, and I'm going to use a soccer phrase real quick. Realty ONE Group has a head on a swivel. We have the ability to adapt to change very, very, very well. we saw something that no one had ever seen before 2 years ago. And I think we had a couple months of like, oh crap, what does this look like? And then I remember you and I had like really long talks about like crisis communication and like what the industry is going to look like and what is it going to look like in a month, 2 months, a year. And we just rolled with the punches and we were very successful because of it. And so I think it's a combination of, we have this very nimble, successful team, but we also have a philosophy at this company where we're not really afraid of change. We almost embrace it, which I think is huge.
And you know what I want to say about COVID too, and that pivoting like that. And I love one of my favorite Kathyisms is the audio matches the visual or the video. Is that our goal during COVID and when that first happened and we were in our oh crap moments wasn't like how are we going to keep making money and how are we going to keep getting agents and how are we going to be more successful. Our goal was how are we going to keep our network engaged? How are we going to make them feel loved? How are we going to support each other? And so Kathy, I'd have to say this group, we started Waking Up to Wins, virtual Zoom podcast every week as a way to support each other. It wasn't like a how do we make more money? It was a how do we support each other through this, because we're all going through it together and we're here for each other.
I remember one of the first ones that we did for leadership after the call, because we were doing them daily. And after the call, Cuba called and said, there's a lot of pain. I mean, and you could physically see it on the faces of the owners. And, I have to applaud Mike Clear and Cuba for truly leading with calm. And what I mean by that is their calmness just came through all of us, and our network responded to that calmness. I mean, that's true leadership when you're proactive and not reactive. And we had the opportunity and took advantage of the opportunity to do the heavy lifting. Yeah. And that was really what Waking Up to Win, not intentionally, but like Cory said, it wasn't about money. It was, Cuba said, we need to help everyone. And how do we do it? And we felt like to do the heavy lifting of taking the training on and providing education and leading with calm would do it. And again, that all goes back to that nimble swivel, pivot, however you want to. By the way, I've just finished Ted Lasso, and I might like soccer than I thought I would. That's a whole other conversation.
Kathy, we need to have a whole episode just on what you think about it. You're talking to two big Ted Lasso fans right now.
Very much so.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
Believe.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but to be fair, to go full circle to what you had asked, Josh, that's a lifestyle brand to me.
Yeah.
Having a purpose and a mission statement, a manifesto, 6 C's that you live, even in times of crisis, that's a lifestyle brand. And now we keep working to get that out in our messaging and our marketing, and when we want more agents to join us, more offices to open, but that's a lifestyle brand to me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also going back to what we said is we are a nimble team. We have I'm just going to say it, which is our next point. We have the right people in the right places. And I know we've touched on Cuba, who's our CEO, and we've touched on Vinny, and, we have Cory, who runs our team. And I'm so fortunate to work closely with Kathy, but we really do have these power hitters that run these, or that are leaders in different parts of the company that honestly really make up the brand. And it's the lifeblood of our brand.
And they bring, and I think a lot of people may say this about their organization, but we all bring different skills to the table. And I think to Kathy's point of us all being in a circle is you're valued for what you bring and not for the awards you've won and the years of experience and the whatnot. Cuba's done a great job, as has Mike and Vinny, of putting people in the right places with the right skill set. And it's a very diverse skill set.
Yeah.
So I look at people across from me at the table, on the executive team or even in our team, Josh, and think, like they've got a whole different mindset, a whole different personality and characteristics than I do. And that is beautiful.
Yeah, agreed.
Because if you had a bunch of me running this company, I don't know where we would be. It would be in big trouble. So,
but that is a confidence, back to, again, full circle, what sets us apart. That's a lot of confidence that you empower people to speak what they think, and you're in that circle and not being, number one, threatened by it. And agreeing to disagree. The greatest growth and the greatest leadership is, I don't agree with you, but I support you.
Yeah.
That's huge. And I think we have the ability to do that, and the respect for each other to do that.
Yeah. I think it's also, Kathy, I think we talked about this in a previous episode, the approachability of everyone in this company. If I had a question that only Kuba could answer. I'm not afraid to email him or text him or whatever, and he's going to respond to me. And similarly, you know, I can speak to anyone from the top to the bottom, and there's this like universal respect that it makes it a pretty unique place to work. It really does.
It does, and I think that's a humbling. I think that's a learned process. I think that's just picking the right people for the right position. And that's not to say that we always get it right, but man, we work at it. We work really hard at it. And if you feel like you're part of something that matters and that's going to be bigger and is bigger, then it's easier to do.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier to do.
And I have to say this, at my age, I am so appreciative, and I don't want to get emotional when I say this, but I'm going to. I am so appreciative of the opportunity at my age where a lot of organizations would be flushing me out, giving me the opportunity to pour into the Joshes and to pour into the Taylor Samiras and to be able to build something bigger through that and not being pushed out and, you know, learning from them. One of my favorite books is The Remix by Lindsay Pollock. And that's who we are. We live that concept of the whole, theme is that you take an old song, I'm the old song, it may be R&B or whatever, and you bring in this new beat, a remix song, and you go, oh man, I know that, but I like this version better. And that's who we are. I think we represent the remix of real estate and like that opportunity. And that's our culture. Our culture is that's a great tune, but it's better now because of how it's infused with new ideas and a different vibe.
And you know what, Kathy, I think is interesting is something about that system is really working, and it's not just our kind of Realty ONE Group headquarters level. You'll see that at our offices, which I think is fantastic. And in my head right now, I'm thinking of one of our owners whose two daughters work for and with him. And that's two generations, yes, of the same family, but very different minds. Yeah. And man, that office is working well. Yeah. And some of our greatest offices and some of our greatest broker owners have a willingness, like Kathy, you need to give yourself credit, a willingness to open yourself up to newer generations, newer ideas, pivoting, changing, being different. And again, like you said, that's part of our culture. Yeah. That's what we do.
I love the remix of real estate. I'm still stuck on that. That is awesome, Kathy.
Yeah. I'm all for a good remix.
All right. So the last part, it's a 2-part question. I want to ask both of you, I want to see where we're at. So what do you guys think is not only the future of the industry, but we don't need to talk 20 years down the line, but let's talk 1 to 5 years. Where do you see the future of the industry and also the future of our brand, of Realty ONE Group?
Wow, that one's deep.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to punt to Kathy, but I'll go.
You want me to go first?
Yeah,
do you want me to go first?
Go for it. Love it.
One thing that I am so excited about is the opportunity because of our model. We're one of the few brands that's going to be able to help realtors build a legacy program. And because of it's model, we're gonna be able, and what Mark Pesson and I and the One U team is working on is a legacy program that the aging realtor, which the average member of NAR is 59 years old. So what happens to that business at their retirement? So what we want to build is a legacy program that they can get their business, they can get their book of business in a format that is sellable. Meaning that they can take their $4 million, $6 million, $8 million network and then transfer it to the millennial. And I'm going to say this with love and passion. I love the millennials. What the millennials don't have is the patience to build that book of business. So
I will agree with that.
That's the perfect. Yeah, you will agree?
Yeah, I'm from that group.
But see, that's the perfect remix. That is the remix of, or the next generation of remix is to take the retiring realtor, get their book of business in a format that's sellable and have them sell it to the millennial who is brilliant in the industry. And now we've overcome that lack of patience. Yeah. Because they're buying that book of business. So that, to me, that's what our next step is. That's what's going to continue to set us apart. We will continue to evolve because of who Kuba is.
Right.
We won't become complacent. We won't become stagnant. And I think that's an important next step for us.
I really hope this podcast ends with some remix music. Just saying.
Ryan?
I want to go to the real estate industry because that's an intriguing one for me. Like, I have no idea what it will look like, but one of the things I feel, and I'm not a prediction person, but one of the feel like I could say safely is the real estate agent's just going to always be important to the transaction. I just don't see a time or an age when you're not going to want to have a comfort level with a human being, a knowledgeable professional to buy or sell your house. And I keep watching firms come in and try and slide out the real estate professional or make them like interchangeable. So you have a buyer's agent and a seller's agent and a listing agent. And I just don't see that person ever being replaced because I am one of the most frugal people I know. I will buy the generic brand of refried beans, which I would never recommend. You should never do that. Just spend the extra 17 cents. Like, buy the branded refried beans. I will buy that, but I will pay full commission for that experience. Buying a home is one of the most important decisions.
Right.
And the three that my husband and I have bought together, individual, separate, one at a time, are the most important decisions that we make for our family.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to trade that experience or barter that experience for a 2 or 3% commission or a no commission, or I'm not. And there are certain circumstances, let me say, where you might need to. I understand that. I'm saying in general, in the broader scheme of real estate, that just the knowledge, the experience, having a reasonable person, a professional who walks you through that process and makes you feel comfortable with it, I just don't see being replaced.
I think going back to what Kathy said, so you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, millennials are the biggest chunk of first-time home buyers in the industry right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I can speak as a millennial. Like Kathy said, we are impatient. We want to cut corners. We want to do things as conveniently as possible. So eliminating the real estate professional almost seems like it goes completely against how a millennial would think because they don't want to do the work on their own. Mm-mm. They want to have the work done for them, and they're willing to pay a price for it too. And so I do think that there's always going to be, well, I can't speak for Generation Z or the future generations, but I do think that there's going to be, at least for the near future, a place for real estate agents.
Yeah, and I think that we'll all look for ways to make the transaction and the experience better and easier and more adaptable for different generations who now do video and can do walkthroughs of houses online, and things like that will all happen. And that's why our coaching team, our One University team led by Mark and Kathy, does a fantastic job of finding what courses and classes and training need to happen. But I just don't see, there'll be changes, but not that one.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Well, and I go back to communication. I could use a lot of analogies, but the one that I'm going to go with is the millennials are brilliant and the most coached generation.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is I had a baseball coach. Kids today have a pitching coach and a batting coach. I may have taken dance, but kids today have toe and tap. Everything is not only coaching, it's specialty coaching.
Yeah.
So in the communication of the value of the realtor, it is not only the navigator, because I hear, Cory, your generation saying, I need a navigator. I think the Y generation needs a coach. I need someone to coach me through the transaction, because I can do it on my own, but man, I can't see my own swing. I may strike out. There's a lot of risk, and I want that coach to get me through this safely.
Yeah. And to your point, Josh, we've almost gotten ourselves into an information overload where you need that coach to help you navigate it and know what information to listen to and what information doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to one of my first questions of why is ROG different, I think 1.U is a big reason why ROG is different.
I would agree. And I would agree because it's comprehensive, is focused on the individual learner, like Kathy said. So there are tracks in place to help guide you through a process and coach you through. But you really get to select your own learning at your time, at your pace, but really your own learning path.
Yeah.
And then we just emphasize business coaching. It makes a difference in a career. And again, back to the beginning, we want to help you. We're just here to help that real estate professional take their career to a whole different level.
Back to one of your questions, what makes us different? And I've had the opportunity to work with a couple of different brands as an independent. And I think one thing that I love about this brand is we all know who our customer is, and our customer is the realtor. And I think and I hope I'm okay saying that, but I think when you become confused as in our roles, is when you think the consumer is your customer. I know who I serve. I serve the affiliates and the realtors. My job is to keep them in business, profitable, happy, healthy, closing transactions. And I think that clarity is what keeps our messaging clear and our support so solid.
Yeah. And we just did a whole marketing workshop this morning on that customer, the realtor, and what more we can do. I mean, the market's changing a little bit. They're feeling a little anxious, or we think they might be feeling anxious. Like, how can we make the journey, the experience better at Realty ONE Group for them, for no one else but them? And that's critically important right now.
And it's an answer that's always going to change, right? Like, you and I are going to have a marketing workshop next year, and I think our answers will be slightly different as our brand grows, as the industry changes, whatever. Things are just going to shift in life. And so I think that's one thing that's so great about this brand. And I know we could, we've clearly all drank the Kool-Aid. We can beat this conversation to death, and we have to wrap it up soon. But I think we have realized that Realty ONE Group is different and is a lifestyle brand.
And to that point, the fact that, and I want you to speak to this a little bit, the fact that we're not outsourcing the marketing.
Yeah.
Cory, if you can speak to that, the fact that we are an in-house and that, you're having those conversations.
Well, it starts with Kuba. Kuba, founded the company, created the company, had a dream, had a vision. And Kuba, again, Kathy, I think you said it earlier. If you were sitting here, I'd still say it. He's a little crazy. But he's crazy in such a passionate, wonderful way that we embrace that. Our marketing team embraces that. And so, we are a small, compared to what I've worked with before, we are a small, nimble, frisky marketing team. But when you keep your eye on the prize and what you're working towards, and it matters to you, it's easier to be smaller. Yeah. And we've talked about pivoting and change and whatever, and that's always a challenge. But when your eye is on building this brand that means something to so many people, it makes it easier to do your job without outsourcing it. And in fact, we don't love to outsource it because we have such pride in this brand. And frankly, we don't want to set people up outside to try and live up to that level of expectation that we have for this brand. This brand has so much meaning in the design work and the assets and the communication that we do for it that we want to keep it. We want to keep it. We want to love it. We want to earn it. We want to make it go on our own. Yeah,
I think it's we may have created something unhealthy, but we have so much pride in what we do, which it makes it not feel like work a lot of times, which is the end goal, right? Yeah. But we have. I think I can speak for everyone else on my team. We have a lot of pride in what we do. We know that we make a difference at this company. So it makes it fun, and it's also we're a small team, so we're the. When I was hired, to do responsibilities A, B, C, and D, and over the course of the 5 years, I'm doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H, and I love it. Because I'm also learning a lot. So it's good.
So before we get off, and I know you've probably got some more questions, but Josh, you've got an important question for Cory, and maybe we end with that.
Yeah, I think we do. This is typically a question. I'm sure you guys have, for those that have heard previous episodes, we like to ask our guests this question, put them on the spot, get to know them a little bit more. So Cory, if you were an animal, what would you be and why?
This is where you're supposed to be super clever, right?
Yes.
And that stinks for me because I'm a marketing person, so I'm supposed to be really clever.
Well, I mean, Kathy and I are the originators of this podcast, and we chose dog and cat, so it's...
Oh, shit. Yeah. So are those answers taken, or we can
go
there?
No.
Okay.
You just need to have an explanation worthy of your answer.
So I've loved dogs my whole life. My family fosters dogs. I'm going to say dog, but I'm going to say one dog in particular. We have a dog at home who's more like a cat, but a dog. She's an Aussie mix. And she is that kind of dog that if you're across the street from her, she will give you the fierce eyes and she'll bolt across the street like she's going to eat you up. And then she'll run right up to you, sit down, and lay down on her back and let you rub her belly. I'm going to say I'm that person. I can look really fierce, and I might come at you. But when push comes to shove, I'm just going to roll over. Yeah. And you're just going to have to love on my belly. If I can say that on a podcast. So I'm my dog, Ruby. That's how I'm going to answer that.
I think that's a solid answer.
And let's not end with that, should we not?
And that's all we have today. I'm totally kidding.
Brutal.
But I do think that is a perfect way to end. I'm so thankful to have Cory here and Kathy once again. Look, guys, seriously, please go to our website, learn a little bit more about what we do, about what, Cory runs the team that I am on, and you get to see a little bit more about what we do every day. And it's pretty spectacular. Like I said, it does not feel like work. And I thank Cory a lot for that. So, Cory, thank you for joining us. Kathy, thank you as always.
Thank you.
We will talk to you guys next week. We thank you for joining us today on another episode of One on One, a Realty ONE Group podcast. We are powered by One.U and ask if you have suggestions, recommendations, or questions, please email learning@realtyonegroup.com. And remember, pay close attention to the details, listen to understand, not respond, and always be a resource, not a sales pitch.